Every year, over 600,000 people are reported missing in the United States alone. But what happens when someone vanishes from a place they should never be able to disappear from? Today, we're diving deep into two cases that will make you question everything you think you know about reality itself. I'm about to share with you two disappearances that have left investigators completely baffled. These aren't cases where someone simply walked away from their life. These are impossible vanishings that challenge the very laws of physics. What you're about to hear will stay with you long after this video ends. Jessica Martinez was everything you'd want in a daughter. The 20-year-old psychology major at Midwest University was known by everyone who met her as reliable, caring, and incredibly close to her family. She had a 3.8 GPA, was involved in campus volunteer work, and had never given her parents a single reason to worry. Jessica had a routine that never varied. Every single night at exactly 9 p.m., she would call her mother, Maria Martinez. They would talk for at least 20 minutes about her day, her classes, her friends, her plans for the weekend. In 2 years of college, Jessica had never missed this call, not once. She was like clockwork, Maria Martinez would later tell investigators. Even when she was sick with the flu, even when she had final exams, she always called. It was our special time together. Jessica lived in Thornton Hall, a 3-story brick dormitory that housed 180 students. Her room, 3B47, was on the 3rd floor, which she shared with her roommate Sarah Chen, a computer science major from California. The two girls got along well, though they had different schedules and friend groups. The building itself was typical of university housing. Built in the 1970s, recently renovated for security, with key card access required for entry and cameras, monitoring all entrances and exits. Students needed their university ID cards to enter the building, and visitors had to be signed in by residents. March 15, 2019, started as an absolutely ordinary day for Jessica Martinez. She attended her morning psychology classes, had lunch with friends at the student union, spent the afternoon studying at the campus library, and grabbed dinner at the dining hall around 6 p.m. Security footage shows Jessica entering the library. At 2:15 p.m., settling into her usual spot on the 2nd floor near the psychology section. She appeared relaxed, checking her phone occasionally, highlighting passages in her textbooks. At 7:30 p.m., she packed up her books and left the library. Jessica stopped by the campus bookstore to pick up a birthday card for her younger sister's upcoming birthday. The cashier who served her later told police that Jessica seemed perfectly normal, friendly, chatty, asking about when the new psychology textbooks would arrive. At 10:45 p.m., Jessica used her key card to enter Thornton Hall. The security camera captured her clearly. She was wearing jeans, a university sweatshirt, and carrying her familiar purple backpack. She looked tired, but content, the way any college student looks after a long day of classes and studying. The elevator camera recorded Jessica riding up to the 3rd floor alone. She was checking her phone, probably reading text messages. At 10:47 p.m., the hallway camera captured her walking down the corridor toward her room. She stopped at room 3B47, used her key, and entered. Jessica's roommate Sarah was already in bed but not yet asleep. "I heard her come in," Sarah would later tell investigators. "She said, 'Hey,' and I said, 'Hey,' back." She moved around the room. For maybe 10 minutes, I could hear her brushing her teeth, changing clothes, the normal bedtime routine sounds. At 11:05 p.m., Sarah heard Jessica's bed creak as she got into it. "I remember thinking she was earlier than usual," Sarah recalled. "She usually stayed up until at least midnight studying or talking on the phone with her mom. This was the last time anyone would ever see or hear from Jessica Martinez." Sarah Chen's alarm went off at 6 a.m. on March 16th. As she got ready for her early morning computer science class, she noticed something odd. Jessica's bed appeared to have been slept in, but Jessica wasn't there. "At first I thought maybe she had gotten up early to shower or go to breakfast," Sarah explained. "But her towel was dry, her toothbrush was dry, and she never got up before 7 a.m. Never." Sarah assumed Jessica had left for an early class, though it seemed out of character. But when she returned to the room at 2 p.m. that afternoon, Jessica still wasn't there. Her bed was exactly as Sarah had seen it that morning, covers pulled up, but clearly having been slept in. That evening, when Jessica failed to call her mother at their usual 9 p.m. time, Maria Martinez immediately knew something was wrong. She called the dorm, she called Jessica's friends, she even called the campus health center thinking maybe Jessica was sick. By 10 p.m., when Jessica had been unreachable for over 12 hours, Sarah called campus security. The resident advisor, Jennifer Walsh, came to check the room immediately. What they found defied explanation. Jessica's room looked exactly as it should. Her phone was plugged in and charging on her desk. Her wallet was in her purse. Her car keys were hanging on the small hook by the door. Her contact lens case was open on the nightstand. Jessica was severely nearsighted and couldn't function without her contacts or glasses. But most telling of all were Jessica's glasses. They were folded neatly on her nightstand, exactly where she always placed them before putting in her contact lenses each morning. Jessica couldn't see clearly beyond 3 feet without vision correction. She couldn't have gone anywhere, Sarah insisted to campus security. Jessica literally couldn't see without her contacts or glasses. She wouldn't even walk to the bathroom without them. Campus security immediately called the local police, who arrived within 20 minutes. Detective Lisa Park, a 15-year and veteran of the force who specialized in missing persons cases, took charge of the investigation. "In 20 years of police work, I'd never seen anything like this," Detective Park would later say. "We had a person who went into a room and simply vanished." The investigation began with the obvious questions. Could Jessica have left the building without being detected? Detective Park and her team spent hours reviewing every second of security footage from every camera in and around Thornton Hall. The results were impossible to explain. Jessica Martinez entered the building at 10:45 p.m. on March 15th. She took the elevator to the 3rd floor. She walked down the hallway. She entered her room. She never came out. The building's security system was sophisticated and recently updated. Every exit was monitored by cameras. The stairwells had motion sensors. Even the windows had security contacts that would trigger an alarm if opened. "We reviewed footage from 10:45 p.m. when she entered until 8 a.m. the next morning when we were called," Detective Park explained. "Jessica Martinez never left that building. Not through any door, not through any window, not through any emergency exit. She went into room 3B47 and she never came out." But the investigation revealed something even more disturbing. The dormitory's electronic keycard system kept detailed logs of every time a card was used. Jessica's card showed her entering the building at 10:45 p.m. on March 15th. It was never used again. The room itself was thoroughly searched. Police brought in drug-sniffing dogs, electronic detection equipment, and even had the walls examined for hidden passages. Nothing. The room was exactly what it appeared to be, a standard college dorm room with no secret exits or hiding places. As days turned into weeks, the investigation took increasingly desperate turns. Jessica's family hired private investigators. The FBI was consulted. Psychics were brought in by the family, though police didn't officially sanction their involvement. The private investigators made a disturbing discovery in Jessica's browser history. In the 3 weeks before her disappearance, Jessica had been researching some very unusual topics. Her laptop showed searches for dimensional portals, parallel universe theories, quantum physics and consciousness, and people who disappeared without explanation. Her search history also revealed visits to obscure online forums where people discussed conspiracy theories about government experiments, time travel, and alternate dimensions. Jessica had created accounts on several of these forums and had been actively participating in discussions. One particularly chilling forum post, made just 2 days before her disappearance, read, "Has anyone else been having dreams about being in the same place but everything is slightly different? Like you're living your normal life but something fundamental has changed? I've been having these dreams every night for a week." Jessica's psychology professors were interviewed extensively. Dr. Robert Chen, her abnormal psychology professor, remembered Jessica asking increasingly complex questions about the nature of reality and consciousness. She was always a curious student, but in the weeks before she disappeared, her questions became unsettling, Dr. Chen recalled. She asked about dissociative episodes, about whether it was possible for someone to exist in multiple places simultaneously, about the psychological effects of believing you were living in a simulation. The most disturbing discovery came from Jessica's journal, found locked in her desk drawer. The final entry, dated March 14th, the day before she disappeared, was written in handwriting that became increasingly erratic as it progressed. "Something is wrong with the world. I know how that sounds, but I can feel it. Things are slightly off, like someone has changed the channel on reality. My reflection looks different. Food tastes different. Even my own voice sounds strange to me. I'm scared to go to sleep because I don't think I wake up in the same place I fell asleep. What if I'm losing my mind? What if I'm not? What if something is trying to take me somewhere else?" 3 years later, Jessica Martinez remains missing. Her case file sits in Detective Park's office marked as open, no active leads. The room where she vanished has been sealed by the university and is no longer used for student housing. Jessica's mother still calls her phone every night at 9 p.m. It goes straight to voicemail, but Maria Martinez continues to leave messages, hoping that somehow, somewhere, her daughter might hear them. Jessica Martinez's impossible disappearance from a locked room defies every rational explanation. But if you think that case challenges the laws of physics, wait until you hear what happened to Marcus Webb, a disappearance that involves simultaneous existence in multiple locations and evidence that seems to have been altered by time itself. Marcus Webb was the definition of a successful, stable family man. At 42 years old, he owned a thriving insurance brokerage in Portland, Oregon, employed 15 people, and had built a reputation for honesty and reliability that made him one of the most trusted insurance brokers in the Pacific Northwest. Marcus lived a life of comfortable routine. Every morning at 6 a.m., he would go for a 3-mile run through his neighborhood. By 7:30, he was showered and having breakfast with his wife, Jennifer, and their 2 daughters, Emma, 12, and Sophie, 9. He was at his office by 8:30 a.m. every weekday, without exception. "Marcus was the most predictable person I've ever known," his wife Jennifer would later tell investigators. "He thrived on routine. He planned everything down to the minute. The idea that he would spontaneously disappear or abandon his family is absolutely impossible." Marcus's business, Webb Insurance Solutions, specialized in commercial policies for small businesses. He had built the company from nothing over 15 years, and it was his pride and joy. His employees described him as demanding but fair, someone who never asked them to do anything he wouldn't do himself. The family's finances were solid. They owned their home outright, had substantial savings, and Marcus carried significant life insurance policies. There were no debts, no financial pressures, no gambling problems, no affairs, nothing that would typically motivate a person to disappear voluntarily. Marcus's assistant, Patricia Holmes, had worked for him for 8 years. "He told me about every appointment, every meeting, every phone call," she said. "Marcus was incredibly organized. He never did anything without telling me first. If he was planning to leave, I would have known." October 8, 2020, began exactly like every other Thursday in Marcus Webb's carefully structured life. His fitness tracker recorded his morning run, 3.2 miles in 24 minutes and 18 seconds, his typical pace and distance. Security cameras at his office building captured Marcus arriving at 8:32 a.m., just 2 minutes later than his usual time. He spent the morning reviewing policy renewals, returning client calls, and preparing for a lunch meeting with a potential new client. At 11:30 a.m., Marcus received a phone call that would change everything. The caller identified himself as David Chen, owner of Chen Electronics, a computer repair shop interested in purchasing a comprehensive business insurance package. Patricia Holmes took the call initially, as she always did. Mr. Chen said he had heard excellent things about Marcus and wanted to meet for lunch to discuss his insurance needs, Patricia recalled. It seemed like a completely normal business inquiry. Marcus agreed to meet Chen at 12:30 p.m. at a small cafe near Chen Electronics. The shop was located in a strip mall about 15 minutes from Marcus's office, a routine business lunch in a location Marcus had visited before for similar meetings. At 12:15 p.m., Marcus gathered his materials: standard insurance brochures, rate sheets, and a tablet computer containing client presentation software. He told Patricia he expected to be back by 2 p.m., possibly earlier if the meeting went well. He was in a good mood, Patricia remembered. He said this could be a substantial account and was looking forward to the meeting. He reminded me to call him if the Henderson account called back about their policy renewal. Marcus left the office at 12:18 p.m., captured clearly on the building's exit security camera. He was wearing a navy blue business suit, white shirt, and red tie, his standard professional attire. He carried a black leather briefcase and walked with the confident stride of a successful businessman heading to a routine meeting. This was the last time anyone from Marcus's normal life would see him clearly and unambiguously alive. At 3:47 p.m., Marcus Webb's silver Honda Accord was discovered in the parking lot of Eastside Shopping Plaza, the strip mall where he was supposed to meet David Chen. But what investigators found challenged everything they thought they knew about missing persons cases. The car was running. The engine was still on. The air conditioning was blowing, and the radio was playing soft jazz from Marcus's favorite station. The driver's side door was wide open, as if Marcus had gotten out quickly and forgotten to close it. Marcus's black leather briefcase sat on the passenger seat, exactly where he always placed it. His business materials were scattered across the seat, as if he had been rifling through them hurriedly. His cell phone was on the dashboard, still logged into his email account, showing 3 unread messages that had arrived after 3 p.m., but Marcus Webb was nowhere to be found. The first officers on the scene immediately secured the area and began interviewing witnesses. Several people had seen Marcus arrive at the shopping plaza around 12:45 p.m. Maria Santos, who worked at a nail salon in the strip mall, watched him park his car and get out. He looked normal, like any businessman coming for a meeting, Maria said. He checked his phone, straightened his tie, and walked toward the electronics store. Nothing seemed unusual or rushed, but here's where the case takes an impossible turn. The strip mall's security system consisted of 12 cameras covering every angle of the parking lot and all business entrances. Investigators reviewed every second of footage from 12:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Marcus Webb was clearly captured arriving and parking his car at 12:43 p.m. The cameras showed him getting out of his vehicle, locking it with his key fob, and walking toward Chen Electronics with confident, purposeful strides. At exactly 12:47 p.m. and 23 seconds, something unprecedented happened. Every single security camera in the parking lot simultaneously malfunctioned. All 12 cameras went to static at the exact same moment. For exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds, there was no visual record of anything that happened in that parking lot. When the cameras resumed functioning at 12:51 p.m. and 10 seconds, Marcus Webb had vanished. His car was still there, still running, door open, exactly as it would be found hours later. But there was no sign of Marcus, no indication of what had happened during those missing minutes, no clue about where he could have gone. Detective Maria Rodriguez had worked missing persons cases for 12 years, but Marcus Webb's disappearance presented challenges she had never encountered. The technological failure alone was unprecedented. In my entire career, I had never seen a surveillance system fail so completely and so conveniently, Detective Rodriguez explained. 12 cameras from different manufacturers on different power sources, all failing at the exact same moment. The odds are astronomically small. The investigation into Chen Electronics revealed the first major red flag. There was no David Chen, The business existed. Chen Electronics was a legitimate computer repair shop, but it was owned by Robert Kim, who had operated the business for 5 years. Kim had never heard of David Chen and had no idea who had called Marcus Webb. Phone records showed that the call to Marcus's office had come from a number that was registered to a prepaid cell phone purchased with cash 3 days earlier. The My phone had been used only once, to make that single call to Marcus's office. It was never used again and was never recovered. Detective Rodriguez and her team conducted extensive interviews with every business owner and employee in the strip mall. No one remembered seeing Marcus Webb enter any of the stores. Security footage from individual businesses showed no trace of him. But the investigation took an even stranger turn when Marcus's credit and debit cards began showing activity. At 1:15 p.m. on October 8th, just 24 minutes after the security cameras resumed functioning, Marcus's American Express card was used at a gas station in Salem, Oregon, 45 miles south of Portland. At the exact same time, 1:15 p.m., his Visa card was used at a restaurant in Bend, Oregon, 160 miles southeast of Portland. Simultaneously, his debit card was used at an ATM in Seattle, Washington, 173 miles north of Portland. 3 different transactions in 3 different cities, all occurring at the exact same moment. Each transaction was captured on security cameras. The security footage from the 3 simultaneous transactions created a mystery that forensic experts still cannot explain. Each video clearly shows a person who looks remarkably like Marcus Webb, but with subtle, disturbing differences. The man at the Salem gas station looked exactly like Marcus from behind and in profile, but when he turned toward the camera, his eyes were a different color, green instead of Marcus's brown eyes. He walked with Marcus's confident stride, but seemed slightly taller. The figure at the Bend restaurant had Marcus's face and build, but moved with a slight limp that Marcus had never had. When he spoke to the waitress, security audio picked up a voice that sounded like Marcus, but with a faint accent that friends and family said Marcus had never possessed. Most disturbing was the Seattle ATM footage. The person using Marcus's debit card was physically identical to Marcus Webb in every way investigators could measure. Same height, same build, same facial features, same mannerisms. But when digital forensics experts analyzed the footage frame by frame, they discovered something impossible. The timestamp metadata on all 3 videos was identical down to the second. October 8, 2020, 1:15:33 p.m. According to the laws of physics, one person cannot be in 3 places simultaneously. Yet the evidence clearly showed 3 different Marcus Webbs in 3 different cities at the exact same moment. Bank records confirmed that all 3 transactions were processed successfully using Marcus's actual cards, not duplicates or forgeries. The magnetic strip data matched perfectly. The PIN numbers used were correct. Even the signature analysis confirmed that all 3 signatures were written by Marcus Webb's hand. 6 months after his disappearance, Marcus's cases took one final, impossible turn. A traffic camera in downtown Portland captured footage of Marcus Webb walking casually down the street, checking his phone and appearing completely normal. The timestamp showed the video was recorded at 12:49 p.m. on October 8, 2020. Right in the middle of the 3 minutes and 47 seconds when all security cameras at the strip mall had malfunctioned. According to this footage, Marcus was walking through downtown Portland at the exact moment he was supposed to be vanishing from the shopping plaza parking lot 15 miles away. Digital forensics experts have verified that none of these videos have been altered or manipulated. The timestamps are authentic, the image quality is consistent with the recording equipment, and there are no signs of digital editing or deepfake technology. Marcus Webb exists simultaneously in multiple places and times, captured on camera in ways that defy every law of physics and logic. His case remains open, with investigators no closer to understanding what happened than they were on the day he disappeared. His wife Jennifer still keeps his dinner warm every evening, hoping that somehow one of the Marcus Webbs captured on those impossible videos will find his way home. Jessica Martinez and Marcus Webb Two ordinary people living ordinary lives who vanished in ways that challenge everything we understand about reality. Jessica disappeared from a locked room with no possible exit. Marcus vanished during a brief moment when technology failed, only to appear simultaneously in multiple locations hundreds of miles apart. These cases remind us that, despite our advanced technology and scientific understanding, some mysteries remain beyond our ability to explain. They force us to confront the possibility that reality might not be as stable or predictable as we believe. The families continue to search for answers. Investigators refuse to give up, and somewhere in the space between the possible and impossible, the truth waits to be discovered. What do you think happened to Jessica Martinez and Marcus Webb? Do you believe these disappearances have logical explanations? Or are we dealing with something beyond our current understanding? Share your theories in the comments below. I read every single one. If these cases fascinated you, check out my video on other unexplained disappearances that will keep you awake at night. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about reality. Until next time, stay curious and remember, in a world where people can vanish into thin air, question everything.